Yeah.
Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm Ryan at Dust 2. I've got Liam here. I've got a bald eagle, apparently, and I also have Thomas Shelby over to my left here. Welcome to another episode of the Double Doors podcast. We're coming at you right after Pro League finals were yesterday. We've got the Americas RMR coming up in like 2 days. A lot of stuff happening. So we better honestly get down to talking to it. I think there's a little bit of mixed feelings that we all have. Last night ended in sadness, but at the same time, there was a lot of joy to take away from it. Liquid went into the finals. They played the full 5 maps. Fortunately, lost on the final map, but they made it to a grand final. You had Complexity making it into playoffs. You had EG actually almost sneaking their way into playoffs. NA has had a good run recently, and now we're headed into one of the most NA events that you could possibly have. So a lot of exciting things coming on. We're very, very pumped to do this, and I think I just have to say I've never felt prouder to be an NA fan in the last 4 years. I think that's a good amount of time to finally be like, okay, this is, well, I would say 3 years. IGS was good, but I was gonna say it's been a rough time in recent memory.
Yeah. I mean, I think saying straight up 4 years though, can't forget that IGS. That goes right in the heart, man. I'll never forget that one.
Look, he made his career off the Boston meme. We'll let him have it with the 4 years. So.
Hey. Oh my God. But no, so it's been good. I want to let's just jump really quick into it as I look all the way over to my other screen and pick out our outline here. Let's talk about Evil Geniuses first, because I think they deserve a lot of credit and a lot of mention here for what they've been able to pull off in the group stages. I don't think they had a very easy group. I think it was pretty difficult. They had 2 wins over Eternal Fire and Movistar Riders. Movistar Riders coming in being a top 5 team. Now, whether that was because of some bias and some miracle runs, that's up for debate. But technically, they 2-0'd a number 5 team in the world, which I want to give them a lot of credit for. So I think that they showed a pretty good representation of themselves. But I'll leave it up to you guys to kind of take this a little bit further here.
I think it was important for EG to have a good run here. We all know that the previous iterations of the roster, 0-15, I believe it was, before they came into this group stage. So you could take it anything that was a victory for them is a bonus, because it was really looking bad for them. And I don't think a lot of people had faith in them to actually get a victory against even Eternal Fire, Movistar Riders going into this. But I think previously with Cologne, with the player break, I think the ratings have been skewered a bit on HLTV. I don't know how Movistar are up there. I don't know how Charlotte are up there. But look, a win's a win against an EU team. I think that's the most important part. It's 2 EU teams that they beat. Whether they're the highest quality, that's up for debate. But look, 2 top 30 teams in the HLTV rankings. I think it was important for them going into the RMR. They missed out on it last time. Obviously, it was a different roster. It kind of looks like they're settling a little bit with Nealon. I know some people were just saying it was bad opposition or whatever, but I wouldn't have had a lot of faith in the previous Stewie 2K lineup to beat Eternal Fire or Movistar Riders for that matter. So I think it's important for them to have gotten those victories going into it, and I think it'll give them a much needed boost if they want to actually qualify out of the RMR coming up.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's all very accurate in terms of the optimism that the newest EG roster has kind of bred, at least as far as the last appearance is concerned. My peak as far as what EG provided, as far as giving me hope for the future. I know that we did give a lot of room for Nealon just because he's a new IGL. He's moving to a new region. The whole kit and caboodle, we don't know what the full product will look like. And for me, not only beating Eternal Fire on Dust 2, but the way they did it, to me, is a huge sign for optimism, just because Eternal Fire is historically a really strong Dust 2 team. If you look at any Xantares teams, any teams with Woxic on it, honestly, any Turkish team, Dust 2 is a map that they prioritize. And for them to not only beat them, but beat them handily. 16-4 is a beatdown. On a map that is definitely aim dependent compared to tactics. You can definitely get away with being more just mechanically sound team, and they like beat the brakes off of a team that is like pure talent in Eternal Fire.
Yeah.
So I'm not totally sold on EG. I still think I want to see more from Cirque. I do like where Breeze is going. He is definitely gaining momentum as far as like getting back to where he was 2 years ago, but we're not there yet. But like Cirque was a killer at the RMR quals. So if he can translate that to the domestic competition at Stockholm, then I think maybe they could mask some of Cirque's inefficiencies. So I think like with Malik and Vorborg and stuff, I think they can get it done as far as like being top 6.
I think there's a lot of interesting like thoughts that we have to come away with on this team. Like Cirque definitely still, unfortunately, looks underwhelming. He doesn't look like the player that he has been. And I think we know that the contracts were coming up and expiring. I think we all kind of know at this point that they have re-signed. We never really got official confirmation that they've re-signed. I think we all know though that they have. But it's a question and concern of like, are they gambling? Are they gambling on re-signing Cirque and seeing that he's gonna like get that elevator back, that elevated level back? Are they just believing that he's still there? I mean, when is it time genuinely for them to look at the situation and go, we can't afford any more for you to continue to lag behind where we need you to be?
Obviously, like you said there, by process of elimination, when we reported that the contracts were up in September, it's past September now. They've seemingly re-signed, but I don't know what basis that is on. Like, how can you, like, the op is the most important gun in the game. Everyone knows that. If your opper is performing worse than anyone else in the team and most other people in the tournament in general, like let alone against other oppers, that's just unacceptable. And for me, I think honestly, this RMR is make or break for Cirque. Like in terms of what Evil Genius's management, that's what it should be. Yeah. Make or break for Cirque was months ago for everyone else. Whether Evil Genius's management want to go for it on this now, if they miss out on this RMR and he performs poorly, gone, has to be.
Yeah. Lucas, you put out an article today about 30 minutes before we came live, and basically we were talking about, you know, top players that really got to watch out at the RMR and really be the ones to prove the point. Cirque was listed among them. I mean, do you want to talk about that for a second?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, it's easy to pick on like the EG duo, like the two that have been around since their, you know, #1 ranking of Breeze and Cirque. And again, we mentioned Breeze is kind of finding his way. Cirque, I think, as Liam mentioned, you know, it's one thing to be in a slump, but the duration is alarming. The role he plays is alarming. And then when you compound it by the fact that we know what they make, that's also alarming. So obviously we don't know what the restructured contract looks like. We don't know the duration, really anything right now has been public. But yeah, it is very troubling when, you know, you're talking about outside of the server financially, like EG has put so much behind those two. And then in server, you have to consider like Cirque also financially takes the biggest risk with him being an opper. So like economically in and outside of the server, he does ask a lot. And it's not like, oh, he's really impactful, but we're not able to like find players that like are gelling with him. It's not like it's not like Nico where it was like, yeah, we just can't get anybody, like a young Nico where it was like, we just can't get anyone to get along with him. It's like, no, everybody has praised Cirque for his like ability as a teammate. He's friendly. You know, they claim he knows the game. There's never been any like, he's lazy.
Claims.
Yeah, exactly. You know, there's nobody has outright been like, yeah, Cirque's lazy. He doesn't know what he's talking about, blah, blah, blah. It's all just things appear okay, but then he's not performing. So, I mean, this is a business, and, you know, EG have put their money where their mouth is. They got 2 oppers behind him. And, you know, oppers are kind of easier to find, you know, compared to like a support player, entry fragger. Like you can work into somebody who can be an opper, you know. So I don't know, there's just a lot of reasons for Cirque to see the way out.
The one opper that we should talk about in this EG organization, Wiz. I mean, he's been on a tear. He's been on a tear in ECL. He's the top rated player, has the best stats. Like this kid is on fire. Yeah. So I guess that really does become the question of like, if EG fail to make it beyond the Americas RMR, which honestly at this point, that's the expectation. I think it was the expectation last time and it failed miserably.
Sure.
But now I think there's more of an impetus here because we've seen them prove themselves at Pro League saying we can beat Eternal Fire. We can do this. We're actually good. I think that this is something that they have to do. They have to win.
Well, and the one troubling thing for me, honestly, like going back to the Cirque thing, he was a bottom 2 performer in both of their wins at Pro League. So they got it done without him. Like they smashed Eternal Fire on Dust 2, a map that is like all long corridors, all long stretches. Like that is up central. They go 16-4. Cirque is bottom of the barrel. It's like we're running out of reasons to defend somebody like this, and like I just don't know what else to do. And then we're talking about EG, who's all about this revolving door of new talent. Dude, Slight just got let go. Like,
no, I'm not gonna. No, we were talking about this before in Discord, and I refuse. I was with you. I was there, and then I thought about it more once I actually had it beat. Slight, Slight is one of the. He's an IGL. He's an opper. I like him. He's good. If Cirque leaves, then I will be fully on the train of where Wiz should get the call up.
Correct.
So I can come in to the EG Black team.
That's the pretense.
Okay, fine.
Sure.
That is we're able to agree with you this on
because
you can't do anything else.
The unfortunate thing about like economics and any kind of sports and athletics and esports, it's like, so unless you can really convince a player, like, hey man, you suck now. Like you are not worth the money we paid you before, which most competitors don't do that. They go, no, I believe in my abilities. They make up reasons why. Like, if he doesn't negotiate and he performs poorly, you send him out the door. You find a cheap 19-year-old like Slight, put him on the CD or PA roster. You're back to business.
No, black and white. Black and
white.
They named
sorry,
it.
Guys.
You can't listen. We can rag on them for doing. We can rag on them for not having any kind of naming convention at all. And then when they finally are like, yeah, we can do it. We can't call up the ones that we made up. We have to. I'm gonna be hard on this. The other thing that I do want to talk about EG is there was like they were harsh. The desk was. I felt the desk.
Yeah.
And I feel that this has been brewing the community for a while. Just overly harsh to an organization that genuinely has done nothing but try to support the North American scene. Yeah. And I get it. It looks funny that they're incompetent from the outside. It looks funny that they're having Cirque, who has been poor for a long time, and that they're still doing it. They were like, Smooya talking about Cirque's salary. Well, Cirque signed that when they were the #1 team in the world and won IEM New York. Like, he can't change his salary. EG can't also retroactively change his salary because his performance goes down. That's what the point of a contract is. It's locked in based off of where you are, and that's where he was. And it's, I get it. I get the points of like they're underperforming and we can criticize them, but I feel like it's gone overboard to the point of where like you have analysts and hosts basically being like, oh, well, I think that Vorborg's actually just a manager and he's not really coaching. And like, that's not at all what's happening. It's like they're feigning that they don't even understand what the organization has been or how clear it is. They're like, oh, can players even move in between the teams? Yeah. Hext, who's there at Pro League, literally moved up from EG Black. Like, this isn't not hard.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I'm going to play devil's advocate being the EU representation on this podcast. I think they can be overly harsh, as in like they take it to the extreme, but I do get some of the points. Like, I like Vorborg. He seems like a nice guy. When you have someone like Malik and you're supposed to have a team that's competing at Pro League, supposed to be competing in these big tournaments, like they have spots at Blast, they have spots at Pro League. I think Malik is a much better coach for that. And I don't know why you bring Vorborg in from the outside. And like you said, with bringing in, like, it's supporting the NA scene, give Ben the call up instead of Nealon. Nealon even said it himself. He's like, I was so surprised. And I was like, I imagine EG were surprised as well. I thought it was like they had like a load of names that were throwing darts at them. It just seemed so random.
But we know that EG White isn't the development team. What, 30-year-old talent Pone alone?
Right.
Like, these guys are old. They're there. And
DJ's
I don't know
27.
I don't know if anyone like has to explain this out. They're there for marketing opportunities. They're there because they can play the secondary events to fulfill sponsor obligations and represent EG and continue to building the brand. And it's a cheap option for them. And that way their main team doesn't have to go to Melbourne to go play in ESL Challenger Melbourne and then go all the way back and play in Pro League. They can have a secondary team to do that. And they can send teams to Philadelphia. It's like, they're not looking at this EG White team being like, you know who we really need? We need fucking like Viz right now. Viz is going to be the next cop. No, probably not. the EG Black team where they put Rush and they put Stanislaw to be like, okay, kids, Walco, you're gonna stop calling. You're gonna learn how to play a little bit better. Like so I'm fighting you on this one, Liam. I'm fighting you.
Yeah, no, and that's what it's all about.
My confusion on it is like, so this happened. Like, so it's like, okay, there's no support in the NA scene. Okay. So EG comes in, we're gonna buy 2 rosters. Okay. Well, I don't really understand the business model. Okay. Well, then we explain to you the business model. Okay, well, I don't like it. It's like
that's fine if you don't like it.
I don't really know like what more we can do here. Like I don't know. You want people to try, but then you admit it's really expensive. Like you being, the common pessimist in the scene, you admit it's really expensive, right? Not many people have the VC money. Okay, well, EG not only have money, they have money to do it 4 times over.
Right.
So, and people are like, okay, well, it's not good enough for whatever reason. And then, going back to the desk, I think honestly, I think there's just too much, not targeting anybody, but I feel like it definitely became too much of a memery thing. Like a lot of the EG segments where it was like, haha, EG can't win because like the Stewie roster sucked. Remember the drama? And it's like, okay, but I thought we're like removed from this. Like,
right.
We're not covering this anymore. Like, we got Nealon now, we got Hexed now, we got a brand new depiction of what this EG roster looks like. And then like, and they win and then like they take it to right away. Like they take it 3 maps and then they have success in the Americas RMR or the open qualifiers. And then we go to this like LAN event and it's like, haha, EG, haha. And it's like, wait a second. I thought we just had like a month of promise. Like what is going on here?
The weirdest thing was, and I shared a clip of this. There was, and again, I'm not trying to say names because I don't want to like go through that, but when EG qualifies for the major,
sure,
literally during during Pro League, and a completely unrelated thing in a completely different group with all European teams, one of the hosts just is like, he's sad or he's feigning sadness, and he's like, I got terrible news. EG qualified for the RMR.
Yeah,
it was like, this is a partner league team. Yeah. What are you doing? They're like, I don't get what the point of that was. Like, why are you trying to shit on a completely unrelated team for qualifying? I've never, ever in my life seen a host of an event, of a completely unrelated event, basically try to shit talk a team for qualifying for something. It's genuinely like frustrating. Yeah, why? What's the point? There's no point. You're just doing it because you want to have a cheap laugh, and that's not what you're there for. Like, say it on Twitter. Say that's where the jokes are for. It's not supposed to be on this main broadcast. Mm-hmm. I thought it. And that's been like my frustrating thing for this last few times.
I think for all their faults with EG, like I'm really happy that they do get to support the 2 smaller teams. Like I think, like Lucas said, there's been a lot of memery, but there has been a lot of issues and incompetence that has come from EG in the past, as in like Stewie, that Stewie thing, the whole situation.
No, that was the worst.
when he said at Pro League, oh yeah, I'm done as the IGL, and then they don't make change, they get rid of the coach. I thought that was ridiculous. I do think there's issues sending teams to the same tournament as well. I think they really need to sit down and like actually look at the calendar and organize, because I think Frag was a bit of a mess. I know it turned out fine, but I don't like the idea of sending multiple teams to the same tournament. It's just the way that it shouldn't be that way, and I think it should be organized better by them. I know Frag is the biggest one for them,
and they agreed. Frag agreed. Frag said it was totally okay, and they were in talks for weeks about it.
I just think it creates a larger issue, and I think if EG say they have the blueprint, show us the damn blueprint. I just want to see. I want to see a
this
actual
is the
plan.
Blueprint. You're seeing it. They're getting to do the events. EG's often the EG white team is off in Stockholm about to compete in some like random European event. Like,
sure, I believe in the model. I do. I like it. So
I'm skeptical, but I like there's bits that I like.
I think the thing is, we can be as skeptical as we want about the project, and we can say, is it too much for the organization? Are they stretching themselves too thin? Have they chosen the right people or the right projects? Are they holding on to players too long? These are all very valid criticisms that we can give of this. I think it just has gotten overboard of where we start making fun of the organization overall for things
I
that are sometimes beyond their control.
I think people just cherry pick like weird arguments that don't really matter. Like I see people on there that's like, oh yeah, like as like an argument against EG and like why this person thinks they should quit it. It's like, well, think of all the money they're losing. It's like, is that what you, the consumer, is worried about?
Yeah.
Are you worried about this like VC backed organization of like losing money? Like, what a weird fucking hill to die on, dude. Like, oh man, some of the
I am so concerned for the VC backed,
like
billionaire funded
big casino might lose money.
organization.
Like, give me
I have the same vested financial interest in
Yes.
Cloud9 and Team Liquid. I care about their pennies. I'm
It's
looking at the
nuts.
10Ks, baby.
Yeah.
Like, fuck,
Like,
give me a
people,
fucking
yeah,
break.
people like go in the comments are like, "How is Pod alone turning a profit for EG?" It's like, who the fuck cares, dude? Why don't you leave it up to those guys, dude? Like, leave it up to them. It's nuts.
Who gives a shit about Podolo turning a profit for EG? My God. Okay.
Like, dude, just let the man play.
Okay. We need to
Goodness.
move on. We need to move on. I
Yeah.
can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the other Americans. Complexity. Great showing. Qualified for playoffs after last season, where they got one win, and I think it was beating EG. So already a massive improvement from last season.
They're such cannibals, dude.
I know, we're the worst. No, so they I mean, listen, let's go through it real quick. They beat Heat, so they beat a French team.
Yes.
Fuck you, Nell. They beat Ents, which I think is a solid showing. I think Ents is still they're a top 20 team very easily. So to beat them has been great. And they beat Astralis most namedly, like top 5 team, top 10 team.
Yeah.
Even though I guess now they have all the shit happening with config and now they're getting device. Let's not even like is the Astralis team, I guess, is just
Rule number 1, Ryan, you do not talk about Fight Club.
So I think they had losses to Heroic and Mouse, which I think are fine and totally expected.
Yeah.
Those are 2 very solid teams. So even then to get those wins when Complexity last time could not, I think is a testament to how the team has really developed with Halzerk. And we talked about this on the last show, but I think the take that we have here and the take that we're coming away with is that Halzerk is not the star opper that is elevating them into this next realm. He isn't going to be the best opper that is like an OC level. He will not be. We know this. Sure. But he is the opper that fits the exact system Complexity uses and allows players like Grim to now be super elevated. And that's what I think has really, really changed in this lineup.
I mean, Lucas said it in the previous segment, hills to die on. Complexity was my hill to die on since the start of the year. I'm so damn happy for them.
Followed these guys the whole time.
No, I'm really happy for them. I think they performed really well. It's just good to see them like smiling while playing well. Like Floppy, Grim, Halzerk, they all seem so happy and they're like getting victories over like. I think Ents was probably the most impressive victory. I think Astralis caught a lot of people off guard. Yeah, I don't rate this Astralis team. And like we've seen the reports today that they're bringing back device. I don't even think that like elevates them to be a top team. Yeah, I think they were massively overrated with the Cologne thing. That's just me. They had like one good run at Cologne, but I think Ents is impressive considering what Snappy's built there. Valde's a massively solid rifler. Sampaio, I don't think it's fully settled into his role over at Ents yet, but it's still you're coming up against a top team.
Yeah.
Heat, fuck France. That's a good point to take away from that. Heroic and Mouse, I think it would have been tough for them to be Heroic. Even though Heroic are down and out of form, they're still massively structured. They played together for so long. Like Yabi seems to kind of settled in a bit more than they were at Cologne. And Mouse, they're the other side of it. Like they were beaten by Astralis, wasn't it, in Cologne, I think? Or like they lost to them.
I remember.
But yeah, like they're still like a solid team and they're getting better and better by the days with the changes that they've been making. But at the end of the day, they made playoffs, and that's what's going to go down in the history books when people look back at HLTV. Complexity made playoffs of
they did. But
so
they made playoffs, and then they played FaZe. And honest to God, I think it was just nerves. I think it was literally just nerves. JT outcalled Kerrigan.
Yeah,
absolutely. And they had that game. and they beat themselves by making silly mistakes. And I think that was they could have beaten FaZe, which I think is a craziest thing that we can sit here and say that they almost 2-0'd FaZe.
Yeah, that's probably fair. The one caveat to that is if they play again, does FaZe perform that poorly? Like honestly, does Kerrigan call that bad of a series? Like obviously, yes, JT did call a good series, but Kerrigan is like on the Mount Rushmore of in-game leaders, and JT is like quite not there yet. But I like again, JT was one of the talents that I put in that article about players with something to prove. Not on the instance of like I think he's on the hot seat, but he has been kind of searching for the team that he's wanted and needed under this complexity banner. Obviously, Junior was not the guy, but you can go back to that previous lineup and like you can look at their blast appearances, like when they played G2 on Nuke, like it was like their second or third map. Like there was a lot of stuff there that gave you like reasons of optimism. They went to ESL Challenger, beat Heat again. Ha 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 ha. But so like there was there was hell yeah. So there was like obvious the Eagle. There was obvious instances of like signs of like of reasons to be like, oh yeah, this team's gonna do something. But like Junior wasn't hitting the shots, right? And so then you go like 4 months of that like stagnant performance, and then like you start to lose doubt and everything kind of crumbles, right? Well, you do a 1-for-1 like comparison between these two teams. Like you're right. Holzark is not popping off the page. And in a lot of ways, like he's not even like as far as like the impact things, the ADR, like very niche forms of statistics. Like he's almost on par with Junior, but from an efficiency level, he's like so much more efficient.
Yep.
Probably doing a lot for Rimfang, Floppy, as far as like alleviating that pressure, which allows them to step up in the way that they've been able to. Because like their map pool isn't significantly different. Like they still play over. But yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it. So
no, and to your point, like that's exactly the concept here, right? Is that Holzark is not like better statistically. He's not doing that. What he's doing is he's just allowing everyone else to play the positions that they're used to playing.
Yep.
So we look at Grim. He is at Pro League. He was the 9th best player overall. Had a 1.19 HLTV rating. Had a 1.18 KD.
And I would argue that was his best professional event. At tier 1 level.
Probably, yeah.
Like, yeah. Like and what did Grim change? He didn't
Nothing.
He isn't like so much better than he was 2 months ago.
No.
It's literally the positions and literally how the team has now been set up differently. He's got a 1.26 impact, which was like super far and above where everyone else was. And he's got almost like a 55% headshot rate. Like he's unlocked into this next level. And that's literally just because the rest of the team is now able to play in the way that JT wants to call.
It gave me flashbacks to like old Grim when I think it was like the first event I ever watched of him when he's on Triumph and he was like styling on Liquid. I can't remember what tournament it was, but like you can kind of see that confidence and that swagger that he had about him. Like in the FaZe series on Inferno, like one of the most exciting performances I think we've had from an NA player in a while. Like it was insane. And I think quickly just to touch on the FaZe series as well, I think it was an amazing performance because they had time and like you could see the preparation that went into it. The desk pointed out like it was the first time that this complexity team had played this FaZe team. And I don't think Kerrigan was ready for like the amount of prep that JT and TC and the rest of the analysts over there must have put in to go into it. But also, there's no better team with their backs against the wall. I think Nico's still having nightmares about Inferno and the G2 FaZe series. So I think it's just a testament that they hung in there and pushed them to actually dig into that 6th gear. So
yeah, no, I think overall like this was. It just sucks that they had to play like the best team at the event, but they showed up and they took advantages when FaZe slipped up. They took what they could from that, and I think this is a one of the best showings that we've seen from Complexity. I think they've only improved every single time. That they've grown. And I think that they're going to continue to do that now that they finally have all the pieces of the puzzle to set them up for success. So as we head into the RMR in like 2 days, like this is the time. This is when they're going to really be secure. And like I would be shocked if they even have to play like a 5th game. I think it's like they're going 3-0 or 3-1. There's no shot they go 3-2. Like this is they're one of the favorites, easily one of the favorites here. Certainly. But we'll get to that in 1 second, as we now need to talk about Liquid.
Oh, that
is beautiful.
It's got armor.
Oh my god.
This was Ryan on Sunday night.
Awesome.
on Sunday, I was losing my goddamn mind on Sunday. I was like, okay, we're 2-1 up. This is so easy. It was overpass. I was like, we've got this. And then collapse. But we'll get to the final group stage. We honestly should take this Liquid performance kind of stage by stage.
Sure.
I was worried after the first game when they went 2-1 against Movistar. And it was like, oh, they don't look good. And then like Movistar just got rolled throughout the event. And it was like, oh God, Movistar doesn't look good. Like, how bad is Liquid that Movistar is getting absolutely like smacked and Liquid has struggled to beat them? Like that started to concern me. And I still think that those concerns are there.
I would say so.
Yeah, there's definitely concerns there, but I think for me at least, I think we had did the podcast at the time with Mike.
I think
it was could have been after the first game because you seemed really, really concerned, and I was like, it's their first like proper run out of the gates after the player break. I don't think it's time to be concerned, as in completely detrimental. They've gone backward. They're the Liquid of old that came back from player break and completely crumbled. I think they just genuinely looked solid throughout this, and I think what Yikinder adds is like immeasurable compared to like any other player in the scene in terms of like you said about Halzerk unlocking other players. Like the way that Yikinder unlocks the likes of NAF, the likes of OC, it just helps so much that Shocks couldn't have even dreamed of bringing when they signed in.
Absolutely not. I think everyone needed to move on from the Shocks experiment, and I think everyone's a little bit happier.
Feels like a fever dream.
It does feel like a fever dream.
I don't even feel real, man.
But I mean, I was reading the interviews that shout out Dust2 alumni Danish Alana was doing with NAF, and he was like, yeah, I just wake up one day and I just get told my positions are different because Yikinder comes in and he's like, we need to play in a different CT side for this map against this opponent. And he's just like, yeah, I just come in, find out my positions change to accommodate the team. I just do my best to hope that I can like continue to frag. And shout out to NAF for having the least ego I've ever heard of not even just a person, but like anything at all. Like if you came in and told me, hey Ryan, you actually now can't do podcasts, you have to do these other things, I'd be like, fuck you. Like no shot. So to have NAF come in and be that adaptable. And also, as we've seen through the playoffs, like continue to frag and be such a stable anchor, really like exemplary, and a testament to how this team is staying strong mentally together. The Eternal Fire game, though, I also a big point there because they lost, they got their asses handed to them, and literally they were like, it lit a fire on us. We stayed up all night after, and we just like we just planned, we just had to practice and plan and figure out what to do next. Sure. But I think it was scary. Even the Fnatic game was a 2-1. Mouse they handled easily, but then Cloud9 as well. Like that they easily could have lost that. And getting to the final, I think, was something that they more stumbled into rather than securely and confidently arriving at. That's my opinion of that one.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Liam, you can go.
Yeah, I think the biggest point with their run to the finals after the group stages, and actually the group stages included, like when you look at the caliber of opponent that they beat Cloud9 twice.
Yeah.
And then who else really can you say is like world beater teams? If they beat like a FaZe or beat a Na'Vi, even if they beat a G2 on the other side of the bracket, I think it would say a lot more about the position of this team going into the major.
Yeah.
But I think it's still so up in the air because like you can only beat what's put in front of you.
Right, but it wasn't exactly like a hard road to the final. It was like, okay, it feels like a challenge, but like not overly like they're going to lose every time. Like Fnatic, they should have beaten. Mouse, they should have beaten. Cloud9, they should have lost in the final. In all honesty, they should have lost that game, but they won, which is great. There's their big upset. There's their big win. Should they have beaten Vitality? They had plenty of chances to, but even then, it goes 5 maps. That's fine. Even battle, top teams, and ZywOo had to break world records in order to even beat Liquid. So it's like, are we really going to be super mad about that? No, we're going to look back and be like, they made a final. They're back. They look like an unstoppable force. But when we look at it, it's like, how unstoppable were they, really?
Okay. Well, here's my take.
Okay, I'm excited.
Oh, I think that a loss to Eternal Fire and Furia speak on the fact that Liquid have not cleared themselves of that shaky floor. Like you said, not a whole lot of strong competition they face. Now, of course, Mouse, Cloud9, these are good teams, but there are better teams. You're talking deep into the major, you're going to have to beat these teams and then beat those better teams. And so you're talking about kind of scathing through a Cloud9 team that they quote unquote should have lost to. Not good. And then not only that, we talk about the conversation right after the final was Alicia's goose egg of sorts in the final. That's not good.
Yeah.
What I am saying is things that have plagued Liquid for years now. Losing to teams they shouldn't lose to. Star performers that got us to the dance not performing at the dance. I don't think this sounds like anything different from Liquid. My one caveat to it is, and this is definitely like me being like the fan who wears the jersey on Sunday because you never lose when they wear it.
100%.
When Liquid won the Intel Grand Slam, right?
Right.
2018-19, they go to IEM Chicago and they win that. They beat Ents in the finals. They like work Ents, right? The next event was the major. I remember this because I was at the conference, the press for it, and I asked about entering this form going into the major. Are you worried you peaked? And I'll never forget this because Twist said, "We have not peaked at all," right? And then they got boned by Astralis in the major, right? Because they peaked too early. Yeah. So we look at the Eternal Fire match, right? They lost, and then they went, "Okay, we lost, so we're going to light a fire in ourselves." I am glad lost the match, even though I hate best of they're garbage, but would wins. Like I go home, I leave that event, and I go, okay, they're gonna go into this major overconfident because they do it every time, but they lost. So now they're gonna go back, and Daps is gonna reassess, and Nitro's gonna reassess, and Yekindar is gonna, and they're all gonna reassess. And they're gonna go in there with that chip on their shoulder that has always helped them perform, as opposed to being this esteemed roster, and then they just get blown out like they do. Almost losing to freaking Hellraisers at the major. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But then do you think that getting to the final here is giving themselves like the sense of false confidence as they head into the RMR?
No, because fundamentally, if you can't beat Vitality, like that's a litmus test. You can't beat Vitality, you can't win the major. So they leave that event going, we couldn't beat, and you even said it yourself. If you personally think that they only won because ZywOo was there, how do you think Daps feels? How do you think Yekindar feels? So they need to go back and you have to ensure that doesn't happen.
Right. No, I think that's a very valid point. And I think I didn't want to talk about it too much in like on Twitter last night, but at least going missing that final was a big concern. Sure. And I think otherwise also, I think it was during which game was it? I think it might have been the second one where you had like OC and Yekindar also very, very low, very, very slow to come alive, being a huge cause for concern. Like, are these guys really getting to getting somewhere? And do they need to be much faster? Like, do they need to be faster on that slow up? I think my toxic personality trait here when I see Liquid play is that I look at OC and I see him get like a 3K. That's the most outrageous 3K that I've ever seen in my entire life. And it's amazing. And he wins the round single-handedly. It's like, oh my God, that's OC. That's the greatest. But then I see him like miss one shot and I'm just like, oh God damn it, that's OC. And it's like, I always see him towards the upper half at the end of the scoreboard. He's always the top performer. but I feel like he has very bad lows and extremely high highs, and it's trying to bring up those low lows that I think is also going to help out, like bail out and make Liquid literally the IGS unstoppable force that we see.
Yeah, for me, I think with OC, the biggest thing is that I see in the community is that I think we overhype him a bit. Like, I think we've built it. So not in the sense that like I don't think he's the best opera in NA. I think he's the best opera in NA, and I think he has the potential to be one of the best operas in the world.
You don't think he's one of the best operas in the world?
Currently, not really, because
Ryan, do you think OC is a top 20 player?
OC is a top 20 player.
Okay.
No. I disagree. In the world?
Yes.
You think at the end of the year he's going to be on the HLTV top 20?
Yeah, I think he's like 17 to 20.
No, I don't think so. I think there's 3 players in his team that are above him. Yakinder, Elige, and Naf.
I don't think Elige is above OC, actually.
Elige had a bad performance here, but like throughout the year he's incredibly inconsistent, and he does put up big numbers. Like I don't know. I think the thing for me with OC is I think this is his first year in like proper tier 1. Like I think this is his first. This is his first proper year because like the Cloud9 run, like they obviously had stuff with COVID, everything going on.
Yeah.
The key word is potential. I think he's still building into it. I think like the interview that I did with him in Cologne, he's like, "This is my first time on stage. I want to get back here."
That's
you can see that exactly. So like, I think overhyping him is probably the worst thing that we can do. Is like building him up to.
I love him.
Yeah, that's fine.
I love him.
That is fine. But I think the problem is if we overhype these young players, like the guy's 23, he's had his first LAN experience, like first major stage experience.
Okay, 23 isn't young though. This is the other problem. 23 is not
young.
Oh
no, it's 31.
Cirque is 22.
Huh?
Like Cirque is 22.
Yeah,
like,
but
he isn't young.
And look at him, he's burnt out. Like this is he's burnt out from playing.
That one you could probably argue, but like
he's burnt out from playing tier 1 at the top level for so long. OC's just getting started at it. He hasn't had the years of traveling that Cirque has and burning him out. So my point with OC is that I think he's an incredible talent, and the key word is potential. I think if we overhype him too early, that's going to put so much on him because like look
just
what we saw.
Just because I go on Twitter and say OC is my goatsy does not mean that he is going to somehow fail or underperform.
But I think there's a narrative in the community. I think there's a narrative in the community that we've said to him that he can be the #1 NA opera of all time, which undoubtedly he can. I don't think it's too high a bar.
Right.
But I think it's potential. I think they're still building into it, and I just don't think he's there yet.
Ryan, you are absolutely that meme of Andy where he's just like from Toy Story where he's like, I don't want to play with you anymore. Like you're just like thanks for the 8 years, Elige, but fucking take a hike, okay? Because like my dude OC is here, okay? Like dude, I can't believe I was like, hey, do you think OC's top 20? You're like, yeah, I mean, yeah, no way. No way. Like I'm cool with you like believing that. Everyone's entitled to their opinions. You're like, fuck yes. Like no doubt. I love it.
I'm sorry. Can I not be strong in my convictions?
I'll tell you what, man. You are strong, brother, in your convictions.
Listen, right or wrong, you know what? Strong belief system here.
Oh yeah.
Do you look at the HLTV top 20? OC has a 1.08 for the year. That's not getting him anywhere near the top 20.
I go off vibes.
I
operate off of 2 things.
Vibe check.
Eye test and the vibe check. That is strictly
you're the meme of G2. No
That's
rules,
why we
just
miss
vibes.
JDM so much.
Yeah.
JDM
top 5.
All vibes.
Top 5. Dude, chillest vibes ever. Craziest vibes ever. As turns out, you see that we're gonna get off track here.
Yeah,
we're spiraling. We're spiraling.
I'm gonna do it. Ryan's wheels are turning. He's like, what
I've got it all.
Things can I talk about?
Yeah, I know. You guys have got me going here. Fuck. Okay. No, overall, I think that Liquid was very strong in the event. I think that they were also shaky at times, which I think is a problem. And I think it is fair cause for concern when you see them get 2-0'd by Eternal Fire, but then for some reason they're able to go through it. And they beat everything. At the same time, no one believed in them throughout the entire event. They only believed that they would qualify for playoffs. Analyst after analyst was like, they're going to lose to Fnatic, which I never understood that one. The Malice one, I thought they could actually go decently far. And then they were like, they're going to lose to Cloud9 again because Cloud9's, they're not playing. They actually don't care anymore. Like, they care now because it's a final. They didn't care in the last game, which again, I was like, I don't really fully agree with. And I think for the Vitality game, we might be getting a little harsh here. They were, as Twitch chat, as I examine it, they were 2 rounds away from winning 3-1. And that's something to be said. They did perform extremely well. And if they won that, we would be ignoring every single red flag from that event. We would just be having an entire podcast about how NA is back, how we're the greatest region in the entire world. Fuck Europe. Fuck Brazil. Hell yeah. Roll Tide, baby. So yeah. I think we should be a little bit, nicer, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I don't know, man. I think there's a lot to be excited about, but if Liquid don't follow it up, dude, it's just one of those. It's just one of those like when you go back and you're like, oh yeah, like made top pick, like it's that same thing.
Yeah.
12 or whatever they did, I don't even remember. But like if Liquid go to the RMR and they're just like average and then they get bopped in the major and don't make it out of challengers, then like that finalist appearance just means nothing. And then the next time it happens, you're just gonna tweet and be like, hey, remember the last time they went to the finals? And then we're just gonna forget about this whole conversation.
Yeah, Liam, we should start talking about the RMR preview because you will be going to the RMRs, which we're very excited about. Liam,
I'm leaving in like 6 hours.
I know. We're going long here. You gotta bust the catch.
No, you're good.
It's gonna be brutal. But yeah, so for everyone, Liam's gonna be going to the RMRs. You're gonna be with David. You guys are gonna be. It's gonna be great. We're gonna have 2 people. I think this is our first event for Dust 2 where we're actually gonna have 2 people there. So lots of content that we can get out there. We previewed a little bit with Mike last time and what we thought and who we thought were going to go in. I'm curious, Liam, if any of your predictions have changed there. Lucas, we can get yours in. Liquids were seeded 3rd in this, which I thought was interesting. I don't understand the methodology behind the.
It was based on the previous major, I think, where they didn't make the Legends phase, and then Imperial and Fury both
because
did.
They went out 0-3, and Imperial had one more win. Okay, fair enough. But with that, we have. And I don't know if we can get the seedings up there, Martin. I'm asking you literally last minute as I'm speaking right now, so I'm going to make you scramble. But the seedings are Furia number 1, Imperial 2, Liquid Pain, Complexity, MIBR, then Nouns, 00 Nation, 9Z, EG, Oplano, ATK, Arctic, then Team 1, Isurus, and Infinity. So those matchups are going to happen on there. Lucas, what are your immediate expectations here for the NA teams at the Americas RMR?
Well, I coincidentally got a nice little graph ready for this exact conversation ahead of this. So basically how I
did you already, so you tweeted it out at the same time?
Yes, I did.
Oh my god.
I come prepared, dude.
I love it. You did some work.
Yes, absolutely. So for all those who don't have the accessibility to look at this because you don't follow me because you're wrong. I have it basically set in 4 different groups, 4 different tiers. Obviously, like who I perceive, because there's 6 teams going. I think like the shoe-ins, Liquid, Fury, Complexity, and then like my personal bias. I know people don't rate them as highly as I do, which is fine. But 00 Nation, I think they're the de facto Brazilian team behind Furia to make it in. I'm very high on Cold Zero Taco as a pairing.
Yeah.
I fucking love Try, so like he's amazing. And then like between 9Z, Imperial, EG, and Pain, I basically have those 4 under like the room for 2 category. I don't know how it's gonna chalk up. Logically speaking, it's just really tough for me to not see Imperial. Just has been playing in career major. If he doesn't make it, I would be stunned. Right. Courses, I got ATK, MIBR, Nouns, and 1. I only put 1 there because like they've had a nuts September, but it was all online. They were like 42 and 9. but it was like all online. ATK I really like, but that's just a bias pick. MIBR, if they were performing how they were like last month or the month before, I would probably have them. Yes, I'd probably put them at the tier where Imperial is at, but they've kind of looked not so hot without Cello.
Yeah.
And then like Nouns, I think they're a little better than the Final Four in like the thanks for playing category, but like I don't think they're gonna make it. But like personally, I'm interested in seeing how it is just with the whole like the drama that happened with his previous lineup. He's now at like a big tournament. You know, he didn't take the money for the fundraiser when they went to the boot camp before getting picked up by Nouns.
Well, yeah, he didn't try to. They got signed mid part, so he
correct.
It.
But like Semphis put in the description, hey, Cynic is not going to do this because he's basically like gonna take a leap.
Doesn't want the
right. And like honestly, like kudos to him. I know there's some sour grapes from the previous instance. But like, and then not only that, like the one thing, like these smaller NA teams, they don't get a lot of opportunities. So then people are like, oh yeah, we'll give them more chances. Well, the reality is they don't get a lot of chances. So I want to see Danny come in and do well. Like I want to see Dan Wu perform. Like seriously, I like no more of the like they're not there often. Blah blah. Like Danny has like had years to blossom. He's kind of fought through all the controversy. He's still improving.
Yeah, oh boy, Danny has fought through that controversy.
Yeah, so it's like honestly, like I'm just a little tired with like the what ifs and the buts. Like I want to see something from Danny. Like I definitely do. And then the other four. Honestly, Infinity, I was high on, but they just got bopped out of advance. So that's pretty much it.
I think that first matchup has massive potential for Danny to pop off against EG, though. Like familiar opponents, familiar names. Like we could see him pop off, and it's a best of one, isn't it?
Yep, they are best of ones. So
that's crazy upset potential.
All the South American teams playing all the South American teams versus all the American teams playing the American.
Heck yeah.
Like, yeah, kind of sucks, honestly. Like I like it, it hurts to see Complexity have to play ATK. It hurts to see Nouns playing EG. The weird part there is that Nouns is higher ranked than EG, and I genuinely like that game. Genuinely to me is a toss up. Like in a best of one, if Danny is like feeling himself,
sure,
that's gonna be easy money because you know that Danny's also gonna be yelling at them the entire time.
Right,
he's gonna be such an asshole.
And we don't know what Nealon is as an in-game leader in a circumstance of pressure. Like what,
especially like this.
Yes, you're at an RMR. You're okay. Like you're probably like the 5th or 6th best team. So like you should have an opportunity to sneak in, and then like you just get like, oh, you're down 0-6 to Nouns. It's like, what do I do? You know?
Yeah.
So,
I think Mike was the one who said it on the previous podcast as well. He was like, Danny playing with a bit of spite. He looks across and sees that big Evil Geniuses organization playing. That's gonna drive him up. So
no, it'll be. I think it's gonna be wicked interesting to see what we have going on. I think the matches on Eastern time are starting something ridiculous at like 6 a.m. Very unclear. I think I'm waking up because Liam, you're going to be there early. I think I'm going to be waking up at like 4 a.m. and I'm going to be at the computer doing transcriptions at 5 a.m. as you're trying to send them over. It's going to be.
No, I think you were pretty bang on with your rankings, Lucas. I think the only thing for me I'd probably change would be 00 Nation and Imperial. They're the only two that I'd swap.
That's fair.
Because I think I really like 00 Nation. I think they're one of my picks to go through. I just think Imperial with Cello, since they added him, I'm excited to see what they're going to do there. And they were one of the teams that made it out of the last RMR when I doubted them. So that's the only thing that I'd say with the ranking, but pretty bang on otherwise.
I'm looking at it. I think that I would swap out 9Z for MIBR in terms of the room for 2. And I would say that this is right. I don't think this is not the 9Z that I think that I don't know. I just don't have a ton of faith. I'm not feeling it.
I just believe I believe in the tenure of Zach as a coach, and I believe in the core. Like I just think they have enough to get through like these weaker teams. Like I think they can beat like the bottom 6 and 7.
So. Yeah. And listen, I could be surprised by 9C. They were at the major last time. Sure. You know, this is always a possibility. MIBR has been good in their recent matches. I think they've been a solid team. It's all kind of up in the air. And who knows? Who knows? But we are going to find the fuck out starting Wednesday at like 7 Eastern, 6 Eastern. So for everyone that is watching, that is a North American fan, make sure to set your alarm clocks early because we will be up and we will be making sure to cover every single match that goes on. If it is going to be the death of me, as I write a bajillion match recaps. So make sure that you all, I think we also have to internally discuss that if we're doing every single match. If we're going to do round by, like, here's the first edition of the games. Here's the second edition of the game.
Also, shout out to our boy Twist starting his campaign to defend his major title tomorrow against Gamer Legion.
Yes. So Twist, which we can talk about Twist really, really quickly here. Very sad that he did not get the IGS here at Pro League. However, I think
Rio.
if he does it at Rio, it's so much better. It's
the universe has willed it.
Like, come on. Like, hi, I'm bookend. Like, I'm getting it all. I'm getting my IGS with 2 major wins in there. Come on. Like,
just let me get a 16-14 map 3 1v2 by Twist against Furia in the arena. Just let me get that. Just boom.
Boom. All right. Now's the time for any finally lingering things that were not on the outline sheet or anything there. Lucas, Liam, do you have anything you want to fight about for the last 5 minutes?
Yeah, I got a question. Do you guys know if the Rio Grand Final is a best of 5?
If it's a best of 5,
it's best of 3.
Okay. So the major, which is like the Super Bowl, like the World Cup of Counter-Strike, right? Like the most prestigious event in all of Counter-Strike, right? Not a best of 5. Wow, that's crazy.
Good.
Wow, I thought that.
Good.
See, I thought like all sporting events, they just randomly like increase the length of their finale by like 60% just because just to add prestige. I didn't know.
I'm glad it's not a BO5. BO5s are bad.
I would rather like, I don't know, do something dangerous to myself than watch a BO5.
Got the TOS approved on that one. I don't even know.
I would just rather not do fun things. Like I would just rather do things.
BO5s are long and boring.
They're just awful. Like they're just awful. Like
decide the major final on that. Remember that old blast map that they had the 1v1s on?
Oh my god!
Where you shoot the boxes in. Yeah, that's how you decide the major final.
You know what sounds like a great way to decide the grand winner of the final match? A full workday. That's what sounds like a good idea.
Genuinely the worst thing.
I
can't imagine. I think that BO5s are just bad. I think they're just bad. And there's
so bad.
There's no point. There's genuinely no point.
The concept makes sense. The concept makes sense, but it just
if you're robots who don't have fatigue.
Yeah, exactly. Like the concept on paper makes sense. You're like, okay, 7 map pool, 5 maps.
Yeah,
this is how you decide you're the best. It just doesn't work in practice. And I was in Cologne for the 2 weeks and I had to watch a best of 5 final, and it was painful. I can't imagine the players after like, what was it, 5 or 6 weeks of Pro League?
Yeah,
like
so long.
Like triple the time of Cologne, and it was just
the problem with BO5s, right? Is that sometimes they can just be 3-0 easy, quick slogs done.
Well, those aren't even fun.
Right. It's not like, what's the point? If you can win in 2-0, you can win in 2-0. Like I was talking about with someone else, and it was like, listen, the point of like games as sports is that we have to retain attention and we have to have the thrill in the span of it. Like, I don't sit down to watch a soccer or a football match for like, it's less than 2 hours.
Yeah.
45 minutes a half, 15-minute halftime. I'm in and out in 2 hours. Baseball, 3 hours.
Yep.
American football, 3.5, maybe. Like every basketball, we've got time periods. Hockey, we have time periods. Like, we know it's not going to take super long. I do not care to watch 8 hours of Counter-Strike. I don't know if that makes me a heretic, but I cannot watch the same game for 8 hours.
No, it makes you a responsible adult with things to do.
I have things to I hate to vote all that time. I'm working all weekend, and then I'm back in the saddle today because I have to do all this stuff, and then we have this whole thing. Like, you work straight for like 2 weeks. It's insane. No, I'm against BO5.
And as the product gets older, we're 20 years in. It's like, think about how old we were when this product was fresh, and like, we're talking about a product that we want to, 20 more years, right?
Right.
So like the people who are 20 now, they're going to be 40. So how are you going to have a product like? I'm not going to be 40 watching a best of 5. I'm not doing it. Like,
we're gonna have kids. Babies are gonna be crying. I can't be sat down at the computer.
Right.
Wife looks at me like, "Hey, what the hell are you doing?" I'm like,
"Yeah,
it's okay, hon. We're on map 3. We just have 2 more left to go. It's gonna be another 5 hours. I can't leave because it's like
Oh yeah, Zai
There's
Wu
shit
just
to
clutched
do,
in
man.
double OT, so we're
It's
just going to fucking map 4. It's like
It's a Sunday.
Yeah, it's a Sunday. So
Liam, you're
yeah,
quiet. You're quiet over there. Do you just want this to end so you can go to bed?
No, I'm just thinking about like what's the best 5 grand final I've watched, and it was Phase G2 one, which was a 3-0, 3
Yeah.
maps.
right.
Who would have thought?
Easy.
Yeah.
All right. I think we'll end there. It's been a good hour. We've got a lot of stuff in. Liam, we're going to let you go to sleep so that you
Hell
can
yeah.
get your flight out of Dublin tomorrow morning. Lucas, you and I are going to be clamoring and doing everything this weekend. I will be sporadic communication as I am leaving the country, but I will hopefully try and follow along for the America's RMR. With that, I'm Ryan Friend, or Ryan at Dust 2. That's Liam Slevin. It's Slevin Slevo CS. That is Lucas DeWitt. Lucas at Dust 2. We are your Dust 2 crew. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you next time.
Peace.